Okay, this will be an overview of the new features in Swift Beta 13 and how to use them. First, let me say that you should review also this documentation here. We have the Swift Recorder User's Guide, and the latest version as of this time is revision 2.1. And we also have a document titled SD card selection and formatting. This is some information on SD cards and the recording time that you can expect from the Swift Recorder at different sample rates and so on. So please review these documents along with this quick tutorial video. Before getting into this, I should mention that you should have the latest version as of this video, which is Swift Beta 13, and you should have upgraded the firmware to the 17.0.5 firmware, and or 17-5 latest firmware, which was covered in another video. So to get started, you run the Swift configuration utility and plug the Swift in via its USB port, which again is located right on the top of the board here. And when you plug it in, the standby LED should go solid blue, and you should see it connect in the configuration utility. The first thing that's always going to show up when you connect to Swift is the current Swift configuration settings screen. So this just gives you sort of an overview of how the Swift is currently configured at a glance. You see the Swift internal clock. This is important to always make sure that this is set correctly. I'll go over how to set it in a second, but make sure that this date and time matches the date and time that you expect. There's the battery voltage. Right now it's reading 0.0 volts. And the reason for that is because the main switch is not turned on, the main power switch in the back. So this has to be turned to the on position in order for the battery voltage to show up. And that is a live reading, so when I turn it on, you should see it jump up. Right now it's reading 4.75 volts, which is kind of the nominal voltage at no load for 3D cells. And this is meant to just give you a sanity check to make sure that you've got fresh batteries in the Swift. I should note that it's not necessary to have batteries in the Swift when you're connecting and configuring the unit, because when it's connected to USB, it's powered through USB and not actually drawing power from the batteries at all. So you can either have them installed, or you can have them the batteries absent completely. If they are absent, of course, this battery voltage will read 0 as well. There's the sample rate. Right now this Swift is configured for 8 kHz sample rate and a 33 dB gain on the microphone, so that's an analog gain that's applied to the microphone to sort of amplify audio. There's a user-defined file name prefix. Right now this is set to a long number, which corresponds to the Swift serial number itself. I'll get into what the user-defined file name prefix is and how to set it in a minute. Then there's the audio file maximum size, set to 1.5 gigabytes or 1,500 megabytes, and that just specifies the maximum size any audio file recording on the SD card will reach before a new file is started. So if you're recording to an audio file and it reaches 1,500 megabytes, then it will close that file and immediately open a new one and continue recording. That's just to limit the size of a file, so you don't get a tremendous file at the end of a recording period. I'll show you how to configure that in a moment as well. Then we get into scheduling information, the recording start date and the stop date, and scheduling times. So I'll cover that in a moment. So first, setting the date and time. This is the reference by which the scheduling feature on the Swift is sort of operates off this reference. So you want to make sure that this is set to the current date and time in the time zone or that you're in, or plan to deploy the Swift in. There's two ways of setting the clock right now. You can sync it to the computer time. So if you click this button, it immediately reads the time off your computer and sends it to the Swift and programs the Swift with the date and time that's currently on your computer. or you can set it to a custom date and time. This is the solution we have at the moment for different time zones. So if you want, you can set the date here to something. You can set the time here to a custom time, and then click this update button. Now, all the settings on the Swift aren't actually saved to the Swift until you click the Save Changes button, or Save Changes to Swift button. So that applies to all the various settings on the Swift except for date and time. So you don't have to click the Save Changes to Swift button when you're setting the date and time. You just have to click the Sync to Time to Computer or Update Time to get them immediately written to the Swift and programmed. The time listed here is actually a date and time that's read off the Swift every second. So it's reading it directly from the Swift every second and updating this label here. So if the date and time is correct here, it's correct on the Swift. Okay, so then there's file options. This is where you can enter now a custom file name prefix of up to 8 characters. So right now it's a string of numbers here, but you could put something different, such as Swift 12 or something. Again, you can put anything you want here up to 8 characters. That includes uppercase characters, lowercase characters, and even spaces. So what that's going to do is attach the custom prefix to the WAV files that it generates. So again, it's going to be the custom prefix, which is up to 8 characters, a underscore, then a date stamp representing year, month, and day, and then hour, minute, and second .wav. And so these will be updated from the real-time clock system on the Swift, running on the Swift, to give you a timestamp of when that file was created. We do also have a recording file size selection, which I briefly mentioned in the settings summary. You can select different file sizes by dragging this scroll here. It gives you the size of the file, so again, it's just going to create a file and continually record to that file and save audio to that file until it reaches a specified maximum size, at which time it's going to close that file and immediately start another file. So in this case it would be 57 megabytes. It also gives you an idea of how many minutes or hours, minutes, and seconds of audio will be stored in that file for a given sample rate. So right now we're at 8 kilohertz, and when you're recording at 8 kilohertz, this a 57 megabyte file will hold 1 hour, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds of audio. The other option is 115 megabytes, which holds 2 hours and 0 seconds of audio, and so on. So again, these numbers will change depending on the sample rate you select later. For now, I'll leave it to 230 megabytes. Notice that this turns red to indicate that it has not been saved in the Swift, so you need to click Save Changes to Swift in order to save that. And that goes for the prefix as well. You should see down here, new settings successfully saved to Swift when they are saved. Next, we can move to the gain and the sample rate section. So you can select an analog gain here of anything from 0 decibels minimum up to 47.5 decibels minimum. Again, this is going to amplify sounds at the microphone, but we don't recommend necessarily setting it to the highest value, which can be often tempting to do, because you've got to figure the higher the gain, the more the further you'll be able to hear, which is true, but then you're also amplifying internal noise of the amplifier as well, so you'll get a more noisy audio file, just like if you were to turn up the volume to the maximum on your radio. You'll get clipping and you'll get some background noise as well. So we recommend actually starting off right around 30 or 33 decibels, and it's sort of experimenting with the gain from there. So again, once this is changed from its old value, it's going to turn red to indicate that it hasn't been changed yet. And then for sample rate, you can select between 8 kilohertz and 96 kilohertz, and these sample rates in between. Again, once you're done selecting the values you want, hit Save Changes to Swift. Now for scheduling, this is new. The first thing you want to look at is the start date. So the way this works, let me clear this. You're going to build up a table of on and off recording time intervals. that happen every day between a start date and an end date. So for example, today happens to be January 30th. If I want it to start to record tomorrow, we're going to go to, okay, well, the start date always has to be larger than the greater than the stop date, or the stop date must be greater than the start date. So since I tried to select the start date that was greater than the stop date, then this error came up. So you can correct that. We'll set the stop date first to let's say March 3rd, and we'll set the start date to tomorrow, which will be February 1st, or the 31st rather. So Tuesday, January 31st through March 3rd. Now we want to select a list of times during the day that the recorder will come on and turn off. So let's say we want it to start the recorder to come on, say at 5 a.m. and go off at 9 a.m. We can select those times here. Again, you can select an hour, hours, minutes, and not seconds. So anywhere, you have the option of turning it on at 5 a.m. and 10 minutes past 5 a.m. but you don't have the resolution down to a second. Once you've selected the times you want, you can click Add to Schedule. So this table represents a period of 24 hours. So on Tuesday, January 31st, tomorrow, it's going to start the day off in standby mode from midnight to 5 a.m. and then it's going to start recording from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. just like we specified up here, and then from 9 a.m. until the end of the day it's going to go back into standby mode and it's not going to record. So you can add as many start and stop times as you want, up to 20. So let's say we want it to come on at noon, so I'm going to enter 12 here, and we want it to go off at 2, let's say. So I'm going to enter 14 here. So now these are 24-hour times, by the way, so you want to select 14 for 2 o'clock, for example, and then click Add to Schedule. So now we have 2 times in here. Again, it starts at midnight at standby mode on January 31st, then at 5 a.m. goes into record mode. It stays in record mode until 9 a.m. Then from 9 a.m. to noon, it goes into standby mode, and then from noon to 2, it goes into record mode, and then record mode, and then from 2 onward until midnight, again it's in standby mode. And then each day it's just going to repeat this table and record during those times. We'll add one more time here just for an example. Let's say we want it to go on at 4, for example. So select 1600. The stop time always has to be greater than the start time. So if you choose a start time that's greater than the stop time, automatically advances this by 1 minute. So let's say we want it to go off at 6, so 1800 hours. Alright, so now it comes on at 4, records to 6, and then from 6 p.m. until the end of the day, or 1800 hours to the end of the day, it's going to sit in standby mode. Once you have this table all built up, you must remember to click Save Changes to Swift to actually commit those changes. If you close out the Swift program and disconnect without saving the changes first, you will lose those changes. Finally, there's the firmware update mode tab, which offers a different way of entering the firmware update mode. We won't worry about this for now. If we go back to the settings summary, it's going to show you those new settings that we changed and saved to the Swift, including the new sample rate, the new microphone gain, the new file name prefix, the new audio file maximum size, and the new start and stop date and the recording schedule in sort of a condensed format here. So once that's all done, we recommend closing the Swift configuration utility before unplugging the Swift. If you don't close it first, you won't lose anything as long as everything's been saved to Swift, but you might get an error message. So we recommend closing this first, and then you can disconnect the Swift, and you're ready to go. So if it's not scheduled to record, it's going to initially go into the standby mode, which just indicates that it's sitting here waiting for the next record period, which again we've programmed in for tomorrow at 5 a.m. I believe. So it's just going to sit here blinking the blue light every about 10 seconds until tomorrow at 5 a.m. rolls around, and then it will go into record mode, in which case the green LEDs will flash to indicate that it's currently recording, and then at 9 a.m. when it's scheduled to stop recording, it'll go back to standby mode. And just doing that, just continue to do that throughout the schedule and throughout those 2 start and stop dates that we selected. That's pretty much it. The next time you connect the Swift, those same settings will come up for, oops, alright, the next time you connect the Swift, the same settings that were stored in here before will come up. They'll be read from the unit itself and populated back in the Swift configuration utility. So every time it saves those values to flash, and the next time you connect it, it reads those values back and populates this whole program with all the old values. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.